I never expected a simple children's swing to trigger the craziest neighborhood war of my life, but the day Karen marched onto my lawn with her arms crossed and her lips tightened like a brick wall, I knew I was in for something unforgettable. And trust me, you're going to want to watch this one till the end. It all started on a warm Saturday morning. My son, Ethan, had just finished his chores, and I promised him we'd finally set up the new swing he'd been begging for. Nothing fancy, just a sturdy wooden seat, thick ropes, and a secure beam on our backyard playset. Ethan was bouncing with excitement as I drilled in the last bolt, already imagining himself flying through the air like some superhero. But the moment he sat down and pushed off, I heard it, the dreaded sound of Karen's sliding door screeching open. For a second, I hoped she was just letting her cat outside. But no. Out stormed Karen in her signature bright pink visor, holding a clipboard like she was an HOA general in full uniform. She didn't even say hello. She pointed at the swing like it was a ticking bomb. That, she declared, is unsafe. Kids can break bones on those things. I will not tolerate dangerous equipment in this neighborhood. I blinked, confused. It's just a swing. Every park has them. Karen scoffed. This is not a park. This is a community. And I will report this to the HOA immediately. Before I could respond, she spun around and marched back to her house, already dialing someone on her phone. Ethan looked up at me, his face crestfallen. Dad, is she gonna make us take it down? I knelt beside him and said, not if I have anything to say about it. And I meant it. But what I didn't know then was that the swing was only the beginning. Over the next few days, I received not one, not two, but 3 violation notices from the HOH, one more ridiculous than the last. Karen had gone full battlefield commander, determined to wipe out anything that brought joy to our yard. That's when I realized I had 2 choices. Let her bully us into submission or teach her a lesson she would never forget. I chose option 2, and that choice led to the zipline. But not just any zipline. A zipline that would run straight across her yard. Karen didn't waste a single second. By Monday morning, I woke up to an email from the HO with the subject line, "Immediate compliance required." I already knew what that meant. With a sigh, I opened it, and there it was. A full-page complaint stating that my son's swing violated neighborhood safety standards, followed by an absurd list of risks. That made it seem like Ethan was playing with a medieval weapon instead of a $60 backyard swing. Ethan read it over my shoulder and frowned. Dad, she really hates fun, doesn't she? I tried to laugh it off, but inside I was boiling. This wasn't about safety. This was about control. Karen had always been the self-appointed queen of the block measuring grass lengths, reporting trash cans left out for too long, and handing out unsolicited pamphlets on proper community etiquette. But going after a kid's swing? That was a new low. I decided to talk to her one more time, hoping reason might land better than confrontation. Big mistake. I walked over to her driveway while she was washing her car well, more like aggressively scrubbing it as if it had offended her. Karen, I said, can we talk about the swing? She didn't even look up. There's nothing to talk about. It's unsafe, and the HOR agrees. I folded my arms. Did they agree, or did you tell them to agree? That got her attention. She stood up straight, glaring like I'd just insulted her ancestors. If you don't remove it, I'll escalate this. I always win these things. And there it was, the challenge. I returned home, fuming but strangely motivated. Over the next week, more letters came, more warnings, more threats of fines. Karen even took photos of Ethan playing, sending them to the HOA as evidence. She was obsessed. One evening, I sat on the porch thinking about everything she'd done, turning childhood joy into a battlefield. That's when a thought hit me so hard I actually laughed out loud. She thinks the swing is unsafe? Fine, I'll show her unsafe. I'll build something so thrilling, so spectacular, so absolutely over the top that she wish all I had was a swing. A zipline, not a little backyard one either. No, I wanted a zipline that would stretch from my garage roof, across our backyard, and right over Karen's perfectly manicured lawn. It would be safe, it would be legal, but to Karen it would be pure chaos. And that's when the real planning began. The moment I decided to build the zipline, something inside me shifted. This wasn't just petty revenge anymore, this was art, a masterpiece of perfectly legal chaos aimed directly at the queen of complaints herself. I grabbed my notebook, sketched out a simple diagram, and started researching. If I was going to do this, it had to be safe, sturdy, and absolutely HOA-proof. Over the next few days, I became a zipline expert. I watched tutorials, read safety regulations, and even visited a local adventure park to check out their designs. The staff probably thought I was planning a backyard theme park, but I didn't care. I was on a mission. Once I was confident, I ordered everything I needed: a heavy-duty steel cable, a harness, a pulley system, reinforced anchors, and thick wooden beams. When the delivery truck arrived, the driver raised an eyebrow. "Building something big?" I grinned. "Oh, you have no idea." Setting up the foundation was the toughest part. I'd built a sturdy platform behind my garage, high enough to give the zipline momentum, but still within legal limits. I triple-checked the angles, tension, and safety locks. If Karen tried to complain, I wanted to be ready with every code and measurement memorized. But the real challenge was running the cable across the yard. It needed to be perfectly aligned, and it needed to pass directly above Karen's grass, not by accident, not by proximity, deliberately. The first time I stretched the cable across, I heard her screen door slam open. "Perfect timing. What do you think you're doing?" She shrieked from her patio, squinting at the line like it was a tripwire. I waved politely. "Building a zipline." Her jaw dropped. "A zipline? Over my yard?" "Not over," I corrected calmly. "Technically above. It doesn't touch your property. Completely legal." She stomped toward the property marker on the lawn, checking every inch like an inspector on a power trip. "This is outrageous. Dangerous. Reckless." I shrugged. "Safer than the swing, apparently." She gasped, offended. "I will report this immediately." I smiled. "Already cleared it with the SOA. They said as long as it meets code, it's fine." The look on her face, priceless. She'd never expected me to beat her at her own rulebook game. By sunset, the cable was fully secured. Ethan watched with wide eyes as I tightened the final bolt. "Dad," he whispered, "is this really happening?" "Oh," I said, admiring the towering contraption, "it's happening." The zipline wasn't finished yet, but the fuse had been lit. The next morning, construction continued, and Karen was already waiting. She stood at the edge of her lawn in a floral robe, arms crossed, hair in curlers, ready for battle at 7 a.m. sharp. I swear, she'd barely slept. If she could have camped on the property line overnight, she probably would have. As I installed the landing platform and adjusted the brake system, she hovered like a storm cloud. "This is a hazard," she declared. "A menace, a threat to community tranquility." I kept my voice calm. "Karen, approved it. Everything is documented." She sputtered. "They approved it because they didn't understand what you were building." "I sent them the full blueprint," I said, tightening a bolt for dramatic effect. "Pages and pages." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. She wasn't used to losing, and it showed. When Ethan came outside with his helmet and gloves, she practically exploded. "You're letting a child use that death trap?" I turned to her slowly. "You're the one who said swings were unsafe." "So I upgraded." She stomped her foot. "Upgraded?" By midday, she'd called the HOA twice, the non-emergency police line once, and even animal control for reasons I still don't understand. Everyone told her the same thing. Since the zipline was compliant, there was nothing they could do. And that's when she snapped. She marched into her garage, dragged out a stepladder, and positioned it directly under the cable like she planned to chop it down with her bare hands. I rushed over just in time. "Karen, what do you think you're doing?" She pointed dramatically at the sky. "This structure invades my airspace." I stifled a laugh. "Airspace? Are you in airport now?" She turned beet red. "I will not have people flying over my yard." "Good news," I said. "Only one person will be flying." "And he weighs 54 pounds? Ethan waved. "Hi, Miss Karen." Karen nearly fainted. By late afternoon, the zipline was finished, fully tested. Fully safe, fully magnificent. Ethan's eyes sparkled as he stood on the launch platform, clipped into the harness. Karen stood at the bottom of her yard, frantically pacing like a referee in a very personal boxing match. "You can't do this," she yelled. "Oh," I said, stepping back, "we're doing this." Ethan launched. He zipped across the yard with pure joy on his face, wind in his hair, laughter echoing through the neighborhood. And right below him, Karen screamed like a banshee as he soared gracefully over her roses. It was the greatest moment of my life. And the fallout was even better. The moment Ethan landed safely on the platform, he turned around with the biggest grin I'd ever seen. "Dad, that was awesome. Can I go again?" His excitement echoed across the yards like fireworks, exactly the kind of joy a kid should feel. But Karen? Karen looked like she'd just witnessed the end of the world. She stormed up to me with wild eyes. "This is not over. I will challenge this at every level possible. You can't humiliate me like this." "Karen," I said calmly, "nobody is humiliating you. We're just having fun in our own yard." She waved her arms in frantic circles. "Fun? That was a child flying over my lawn. This is a direct violation of my peace, my privacy, and my personal boundaries." I almost laughed. "Your peace seems pretty broken even without the zipline." Before she could respond, a small crowd of neighbors started gathering. Apparently, the zipline test run had become the evening's entertainment. Some were clapping, some were recording. One neighbor even shouted, "Let the kid have fun, Karen." Karen turned on them like a lighthouse beam, furious, blinding, and totally losing control. "You all think this is acceptable? A zipline over my yard?" A few neighbors shrugged. One said, "Honestly, it's kind of impressive." Karen gasped like someone had insulted her ancestors. But the real twist came when a familiar car pulled up. The HOA president, Mr. Landry. He walked over with his clipboard, looking exhausted like Karen had been harassing him all day. Which, let's be honest, she probably had. He inspected the zipline, checked the measurements, reviewed the paperwork, and finally sighed. "Everything is compliant," he announced. "Safe, legal, within guidelines." Karen's jaw dropped. "What?" Mr. Landry rubbed his temples. "Karen, you filed 9 complaints today. All of them were dismissed." "9?" I whispered under my breath. Even I was surprised. Ethan tugged on my sleeve. "Does that mean it stays?" Mr. Landry nodded. "Yes, it stays." The neighbors cheered. Karen, on the other hand, looked like her soul left her body. She stomped back to her house, muttering threats about taking this to the county, which made everyone laugh because nobody takes anything to the county, unless they've completely run out of hobbies. Over the next week, something surprising happened. Instead of causing chaos, the zipline became a neighborhood attraction. Parents brought their kids over. Neighbors complimented the setup. Even people I'd never met asked if they could try it. And Karen? She installed a 12-foot-tall privacy hedge around her yard. Honestly, best improvement she ever made. And that's how a simple swing turned into the greatest zipline victory of my life. Enjoying this wild HOA versus zipline showdown? If you want more real-life revenge stories and neighborhood drama like this, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if this made you laugh or reminded you of your own Karen moment, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your best neighborhood stories.